warm good evening to everyone who has joined us today. As some of you know, we are Arjuna Group. For the past 12 years, we have been serving the student community, the future of the nation. And we have had a lot of experience in interacting with over 3 lakh teenagers. And based on those interactions, we are bringing to you a webinar on one of the most common difficulties everyone has. How do we deal with teenagers? And therefore, today's webinar for you is titled, Why Do Teenagers Do What They Do? Know Your Teenager. We are going to be busting 5 popular misconceptions about teenagers and sharing tips about how we can better deal with them. We assure you that the principles and wisdom that we share with you today here will help you serve your children and society in general in a still better way. The keynote speaker for today's program is the founder and CEO of Arjuna Group, Mr. Amal M. Das. Mr. Amal has had a lot of experience in interacting with teenagers over the course of 15 years, all through the country. And he's also writing a book on parenting. So you are in very good hands. And I would request Mr. Amal, please take over the stage.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. So thank you, Girdhar, for the introduction. And it's very wonderful that we are having this program. So first of all, a warm welcome to each and every parent who is joining today on this channel, Amalam Das Official, where we are presenting to you the parenting wisdom most essential for you to guide your children, for you to parent your children, for you to do your service of your parenting in such a way that you can grow your teenagers with wholesome success. तो ये प्रोग्राम हमने पिछले कुछ महीनों से स्टार्ट किया है. We have started this program from last few months because it's very essential. In 2021, we want to empower many parents with the essential parenting wisdom. And therefore, we are also inviting various guests who have had a lot of experience in their own life in various ways. Many of the IAS officers, etc., join us, and they actually also share out their wisdom of parenting, etc. So that can help the people. It can help the parents in their service of parenting. So this is I think on this YouTube channel, this is the third program on this in the series. And today we are actually going to discuss about that. What is the teenage psychology? What is a teenage psychology? How should a parent understand the teenage psychology? How you can know how you have to know your teenager child. So what the teenager child psychology, what is it all about? So how to understand it. Today we are going to discuss certain principles about that, and specifically I will also address about 5 myths which our society has. So these are very popular, and if the parents actually have these kind of myths in their mind, in their mindset, in their belief system, and with this, if they start interacting with their child, then it can lead to a lot of parenting disasters. So that is why today actually I'm going to bust the 5 myths. In fact, if I have time, I'll actually cover 5 + 1 myths, and it's going to be an interesting session for all of you. Join. So please attend this entire program to get the maximum benefit. And of course, Giridhar, let me know in case if sir is ready and if he wants to give the initial introduction as a chief guest. So then we can actually do that. Yeah. So if this is very important for every parent to learn and every parent to understand, that in their service of parenting, they will have to learn about the teenage psychology. Once I was invited in a school and I was giving a speech to 60 odd teachers who were filling the room. And we all had a discussion on what is the best way to teach the children. So basically I was invited in that school to improve the teaching quality. और ये बहुत जरूरी होता है क्योंकि आपको जानना है कि खाली जैसे टीचर्स का काम ये नहीं होता है कि आकर के सब्जेक्ट्स को पढ़ा दिया जाए, but actually they are dealing with the human beings. So to deal with the human being, you should know the psychology of the human beings also. So for the teachers, it is not that they only need the subject knowledge, they also need the knowledge of how to transmit that knowledge which they have to the other person. So therefore, there is a relationship dynamics. There is a human psychology dynamics which comes into picture, and unless teachers know about it, it can lead to a lot of problems. Teacher's attitude will determine whether he or she will be a successful teacher or not. It is not that how much subject knowledge a teacher carries that is sufficient. No, but the teaching attitude is also important. So as we were discussing about this, we had a brainstorm, and many teachers were coming up with, okay, what is the best way to teach, to a child, and what is the best teaching attitude? We were discussing all of that, and various teachers, they were giving their inputs, and finally, all of us, we came up with a very beautiful realization, which I want to share with all of you, which is also important for you as a parent to know. We were discussing what's the most wonderful teaching attitude, and everybody came to this conclusion finally that the learner's attitude is necessary in a teacher. We were discussing about the story of Vidura, and how Vidura, who is the brother of Dhritarashtra, also the counselor of Dhritarashtra, was the ruler of Hastinapur. The Mahabharat, the famous Mahabharat. Most of the parents, at least, they would be knowing about the Mahabharat. They would have watched the serial in the television also. So Dhritarashtra's younger brother Vidura was a guide to Dhritarashtra also. Right? And due to the family politics, what happened, that he was sort of humiliated and by the son of Dhritarashtra, Duryodhan, and therefore he had to leave from the place. Right? So he left the kingdom. He said, okay, he wanted to retire. He just retired from this active politics which he was involved in the family. And at that time, you will be surprised to know what did Vidura do after retiring. Sometimes people think that, okay, now I have worked enough, and now I am going to retire. Oh, finished. Now I am not going to do anything. To everyone's surprise, we find that even at that age, that advanced age, Vidura, he wanted to go to kind of in a tour to a holy place so as to acquire more and more wisdom. He was hungry for acquiring more wisdom even in that advanced age. He was not feeling like, okay, my life is over, ab to ho gaya, now I don't want to do anything. Instead, he wanted to learn more wisdom. So this learner's attitude is so crucial for everybody, especially those who are in the teacher's role, as well as for those who are in the parent's role, parenting role. So this is something which we want to begin with, that even the parents also will have to learn and acquire knowledge about how to guide their children, and specifically as this topic of today's program is, they have to know their teenager, the dynamics of the teenage, the psychology of the teenage. So this has to be known. So I think we have our chief guest of the day today, and let's begin this speech with actually his kind words. Whether you could kindly introduce and we can take ahead. I think.
Yes, so we are very, very fortunate. Our chief guest today is Mr. T.S. Krishnamurthy. He's actually one of the most decorated guests that we have ever had on our webinars. He is a former Chief Election Commissioner of India, and he has also served as the Secretary and Additional Secretary of India. He was the first Indian Revenue Service officer to become a secretary to the Government of India, as well as the Chief Election Commissioner of India. So, we are actually very, very fortunate that sir has kindly agreed to share some wisdom with us. Sir, I don't want to take any more of your time. I'll hand over the mic to you, sir.
Thank you very much. And I'm delighted to be associated with your program today. Although I'm not sure whether I'm the most qualified person to talk on the subject, but from whatever briefing I've had from Mr. Amal Das and Mr. Jayant, and now, of course, whatever Mr. Amal Das mentioned as a introductory remarks, I entirely appreciate your initiative in promoting a program for improving the quality of parenting, particularly parenting the teenagers. I'm reminded of an old concept called the transactional analysis, where a person's transaction is analyzed into three categories: adult, child, adult, and parent. the attitude of a person who is not very mature and who is treating the other person in a very immature manner or in a very unscholarly manner or in a very intellectual style. That category is known as child transaction. That is, you are very innocent, but at the same time, you are not mature enough to improve the quality of transaction on communication, transaction on interpersonal relations, and so on. Then the second category is the parent. The parent always is associated with the person who regulates, who controls, who moderates the child at every stage. Then he thinks that he knows better than the other party and tries to boss over the other person in completing the transaction, whether it is communication or any other official transaction. The third category is known as the adult category, where the transaction is between a mature person and the other party can be mature or may not be a mature person. So when he was mentioning about the need for improving the quality of parenting, particularly the teenagers, it came to my mind that transactional analysis concepts can be very useful in dealing with the teenage children. You see, as you all know, times are changing. What I had as a treatment from my parents when I was a teenager cannot hold good for today. In fact, I always cite the example of the story of Napoleon Bonaparte, who conquered many forces and became an emperor. His grandson tried to follow the same strategy to try to conquer other countries or other forces, and he failed miserably. That's because the times have changed, the attitudes have changed, the men have changed, the transactions have changed, and you cannot apply what was good, say, 100 years back, will hold good 100 years later. So it is very important that the teenagers today have to be dealt with differently from the teenagers that I went through in those days. So in those days, first of all, it is the economic condition that dictated. It is also the tradition. For example, we are all taught to believe that whatever the parents say should be correct and should be obeyed. In fact, there is a nice Tamil expression which says, Annayum Pitavum Munneri Devam, or in Sanskrit you say, Mata, Pita, and Guru. So we always think that parents know everything well, and whatever they say have to be, without any questioning, to be obeyed. But that may not hold good today because for more than one reason. So the children are more educated. They are also exposed to different environment. And in such an environment, if you start controlling a teenager, it can be a counterproductive. Because I know of a case of a boy who studied in a Sainik school. His father was a police officer, and he was always very strict about bringing up the children. And he was, apart from the shock of living in a Sainik school hostel, and controlled by a parent who was absolutely strict in dealing with his children. The boy became very mentally, he became a very unstable person. And although he lived for about 30 to 40 years, he lived, but he had a miserable end to his life. They don't even know whether he died of natural cause or whether he committed suicide or whatever. So the point I want to stress here is that today's children have to be treated differently. It cannot be the same method that we adopted maybe 30 years back or 40 years back. I went through the paper that the chapter that Mr. Amal Das had prepared for his book, wherein he has coined an expression, rebel, for stressing how the children have to be treated, because the children's psychology is different. They are exposed to different kinds of life. Their school is different. Their college is different. The teachers are different, and the exposure to the media, to the electronic media, and so on, and even the cell phone habit. These things change, and the children tend to be more assertive than probably 30 years back. So you have to recognize this change and you have to deal with them. I always tell my son and my daughter-in-law, when the baby is about 3-4 years old, they are equivalent to God, they are equivalent to flower. They have to be treated in a manner that they don't get hurt. So the damage that you cause to them by being very tough with them can be quite costly. Similarly, when the child becomes a teenager, he is exposed to many changes, both mentally and physically. And he sees many things happening around him. He thinks the life is all like that and it has to be in that manner. And so if you say do this or don't do this, he is repulsive, he reacts violently to that. So it is necessary for the parents to understand the gradual evolution of the baby from the baby stage to the teenager stage and then on to the adult. So for sometimes I used to say, even suppose your son is about 30 years or 40 years, you cannot impose your will on him. You can explain to him the choice. You can explain to him the for and against of any particular proposition. But if you try to impose that this is correct, you must follow, the child may not stay with you. The child may not listen to you. The child will run away from you and will look for some other place where he can get some kind of a consolation or where he can live in a manner that he wants to be. So if there is a tendency on the part of the parents to boss over the child, particularly the teenager stage, it depends upon the environment in which the teenager has been brought up. Very often, they don't like to be controlled. They don't like to be. On the other hand, a persuasive language will work even better. You tell them these are the choices available. This is the choice I had in my life. This is what I try to follow. If you think my choice was good, you accept it. If you don't like my choice, you are welcome to take a different course of action, different course of decision. So this is the way you have to handle the teenage children. Because as I told you, their mental makeup is totally different from what it was in our days. We will not have questioned our parents. If they say do that, we'll do it. Whether it is right or wrong, we don't know. Or if our teacher says do this, at least most of us will accept what he says. And that is one of the reasons probably we lost the ability to question the decisions of elder people. But in these days of modern technology, you should allow the children to ask questions. Previously, we will not allow the child to ask too many questions. Probably 2 or 3 questions you will entertain. Thereafter, you will say, no, you don't know anything. This is what my experience and my life has taught me. You have to follow this. But today, the child cannot be given this kind of a response, or the teenager cannot be dealt with in this manner. You have to put the choices before him. It is for him to accept. But you can always say that if I were you, this is what I would have done. But if you think there is a better course or better decision than this, go ahead and take it. And the child will start respecting the parent. As I keep on mentioning, persuasion is the key in interpersonal relations between the parents and the children. And if ever you give an impression, and particularly in some areas, even today the parents want the children to choose a course that they want their son to do it. For example, whether it is engineering or a medicine, you cannot. In fact, I never asked my son that he should do this course. All that I told him is, well, at that stage I told him, write one of those competitive exams, IIT or any other competitive exam, and choose whatever subject you want. My father, for example, did not ask me to do this course because probably traditionally we have all been doing either engineering or medicine. But I took to arts because I like the subject. Similarly, I mean, that is probably, those days it might have been totally novel. But today, you have no choice. I repeat, you have no choice. The parents have no choice to impose their views either on education or career or even their day-to-day life or their dress, for example. Today, as you know, the dress senses is totally different. You cannot say you must wear this kind of a dress and things like that. But there are exceptions. Some children may accept the parental advice. But to give an impression that your views are correct, I think it can be very counterproductive. It can result in exactly the opposite thing happening. I know, for example, I'll tell you some of the anecdotes. For example, the two students brought up in a Ramakrishna mission home, suddenly when they come out of the discipline that they have been imposed upon, I'm talking about 20 years back. I can't say that holds good now. Suddenly, when they come out, their anxiety and curiosity to know the things other than what was told in the mission life, in the hostel life, or in the college life. They want to do everything and experiment with everything, so that they think that they have got the freedom to do whatever they want to do. In that process, they tend to cross the limit. They commit mistakes. They don't have any warnings of the mistake that would happen. So they learn on their own, by their own efforts, by their own experience, they learn. Some things are better learned by their own experience, and some things can be learned from seeing others. So the parents have to take a very guarded view of bringing up the children these days. They cannot ask children or a teenage child to do a particular course or to wear a particular dress or to move with particular set of friends and so on. All that I would like to emphasize at this stage is, do not make your children violent. Do not make them reactionary. Do not make them that whatever you say is wrong. So they will totally leave you physically and mentally. And today, another thing that I would like to emphasize is, we are all used to the concept of family life, the elders, the relatives, and living with them. Today, most of the joint families are broken. It is only a nuclear family that lives. So sometimes, for example, the old people, they send the children abroad for studies in the various American or UK universities or Australian universities. They expect the child to communicate with them almost every day. Well, in some cases it is possible. In some cases it may not be possible. So you have got to understand that when the children are going through their studies, etc., you cannot expect your teenage children to respond to you in the same manner that you responded to your parents. So that first lesson that we should bear in mind. The second lesson, try to adjust to the new conditions. Try to be friendly with the children. In fact, there is an expression in our country: if the child, son or daughter, is above your shoulder level, treat that person as an adult, not as a child. So the teenager is the stage when normally he goes above your shoulder level. So you have to respect that person. You have to recognize that he has his own views and tastes, and you can certainly tell them the choices or the consequences of taking a particular course of action. But beyond that, don't impose your view. Don't expect your children to be in touch with you all the time. Don't expect them to come and meet you every time you want. But although the ancient system is very good, I'm not saying that we can decry that, but we have got to adjust, and we have to develop a sort of a feeling among the children that you are wanted. And 1 second. You are wanted. You still belong to the family, and you will be given all the importance. But at the same time, keep on in a subtle manner send the messages of family bonding, etc. But never ever have too much of expectations because of the exposure to Western way of life, exposure to the modern education. Children tend to be different in the thinking, and to expect them to be in touch with you or to meet you every year may not be a workout, but some children, they do come. They come and meet the parents. They spend some time together. I know of recently 2 or 3 cases of old age people, their children studying abroad or working abroad. When the father or mother is seriously ill, they don't come at all. That is not our tradition. But you cannot say that my son is not affectionate to me, or my daughter is not affectionate to me. She's not able to come and see me when I am in distress. Well, that is our tradition. We are supposed to look after our elders. But then don't have that expectation. If they come and be with you, that's fine. You can certainly be happy with that. But if they have a genuine reason, you have to accept it. I don't think you should question that. So these are some of the thoughts I should share with you. And I thought I should speak for about 10 minutes. And if you have any questions on that, maybe another 10 minutes I can wait, answer some of these questions. But my sincere advice to all the parents is recognize your children, particularly at the teenage stage. They can be shaped in different form depending upon how you interact with them. If you treat them as adults, and if you give them the importance that they have, if you give them the freedom to think and not feel repulsive about what you say, you have to adjust yourself. There is a need for adjustment in the interpersonal relations that will certainly promote a family bonding. So never ever impose your will. That's my advice to all the parents.
Thank you so much, sir. Actually, you spoke a lot from your personal experiences and gave a lot of practical examples and tips also. So thank you so much, sir, for actually sparing time and enlightening us in this program. Okay. Now I would like to hand over back to Mr. Amal.
Do you have any question system, or do you have anybody to ask questions, or you don't have that system?
Actually, sir, usually we do questions at the end of the program.
Okay.
We collect all questions, filter them, and ask around 7:15 or so.
Okay. Maybe I can come around that time if you want. I can.
Yeah. Yes, sir. Sure, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. May God bless you all. I must compliment your Arjuna group on the initiative you are taking in shaping the values of the youngsters of today. They are more intelligent, they are more educated, they are more well informed than the children of say 20, 30 years back. So it is a very delicate task that you are doing, and I am sure you will succeed in your efforts. May God bless you all.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you. It really means a lot to us.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, sir.
You want me to join by 7:15?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Sure.
If you have any other schedule, not that I should come, but if you want me to join, I'll come at 7:15.
Yes, sir, you can.
Yes, sir. We'll let you know.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, so it was we are so thankful to you, sir, and it was really very meaningful talk. Summarizing it, that you were saying mainly that children of today, teenagers of today are very different from the teenagers, say 100 years before or one generation before, and definitely the way of parenting has to change. In fact, this is the reason for all of you parents, those who are hearing us, this is the main reason actually Arjuna has taken up the initiative to actually help the parents in their service of parenting. So if you ask me, I have observed thousands and thousands of cases where there is a lot of parent and teenager tussle. So when my small experience of meeting so many people, I observed that there is so much of tussle, there is so much of, as the sir said, generation gap, as well as, there is the effectiveness of our parenting has gone down quite a lot. It has serious impacts both for the parents' lives as well as for the teenagers' lives, for the children's life. So, आप सब लोग जानते हैं, you all know that teenage is the time where in the Indian education system, suddenly a lot of responsibility comes on the shoulders of the children, and they have to write for their competitive exams, etc. They have to become career conscious, etc. So during that time, obviously, the parent support is so essential. And therefore, when I went in my service of guiding the teenagers from the last 15 years, and we interacted to thousands and lakhs of children, lakhs of teenage children. So we also came in touch with the teachers. We also came in touch with the parents. So many parents have come and personally met me at so many times, asking so many things for their children. And this is one thing which we noticed, that parents are in their own world and their children are in their own world. In fact, recently there was one survey a few years before, a survey was done that the same questions are asked from the children and the same questions are asked from their, the parents. You will find that there is a huge difference in their answers. So parents are on a same subject, on a same thing, Parents are thinking in this direction and children are thinking in some other direction. So of course, so there is, as sir said, there has to be understanding of teenage psychology, and you have to adopt yourself. You have to learn exactly that. You have to know that the old tricks are not going to work. Those old methods which probably your parents have used on you. First of all, we have to know those methods were right or wrong. Because sometimes our own parents might have not used the right methods. The problem is that ancient India, as sir was mentioning, ancient India's system, the Vedic India system of parenting was absolutely wonderful, absolutely immaculate, absolutely such a reliable, sturdy system which gave us a beautiful, history of India. But so much achievement was done by India. Now the point is whether our generation or the previous generation or previous last 2 generations or last 3 generations, let us say from the time when Britishers invaded, so last 250 years of India, so is it that the parenting is the same as the traditional Indian Vedic parenting, or probably there has been a huge, what you call degeneration of the system, and as we find it today, probably our parents and their parents and their parents would not have done the traditional approach. There will be some percentage of the traditional approach, but maybe a lot of degeneration also happened. हमारा जो Vedic system है, it is not that we have experienced that type of parenting in our own life. This is my message to the parents. Please know that in your own life, your belief system, your parents' belief system may not be a traditional. Like हम लोग बोलते हैं, अरे in our time, children used to listen to the parents very nicely, but there was a reason behind it. We have to know that if you take something, you have to see it with a full 360-degree view. You only take a small portion of it, you cannot conclude, okay, this is what it should be. So parenting के साथ parents का value system क्या था, right? What was the value system of the parents? What was the behavior of the parents in totality has to be seen. So this is in fact one of the misnomers, that the parents can exercise their authority and say that I know the best for you always. So that is, as sir was saying, that sometimes we feel this is how the parenting must be done. And sometimes we think that this is the tradition way of parenting. We have undergone this type of parenting. So first of all, therefore, I'm saying whether it was right or wrong. So never in my view of the Vedic literatures, in my study of the Vedic systems, and my discussion with the others, we have never come to see that Vedic system was imposing. Rather, Vedic system was very empowering. It was never imposing, it was empowering. And therefore, in the Vedic times, traditional Indian parenting was not imposing, but rather empowering. Therefore, this is what I'm writing in my book. A lot of detailed, thorough research is going to make this book, and therefore we are sharing this in the channel, which will help the parents to actually rethink the way they have been thinking, right? To change their attitude towards life. Not I'm writing a chapter there where I'm saying that raise yourself, raise your teenagers. So many a times the problems in parenting happen also because the parents' outlook towards life itself is very much, not which is very healthy. It is an unhealthy outlook towards the life itself. So this has to be very much understood. There has to be a thorough overhauling of our own understanding of life. We are thinking that we have to be any teaching or any parenting, any relationship can be successful by imposing methods, controlling methods, forceful methods. We are in a very wrong understanding of life. And as sir was saying, that actually it is not even the traditional. So it is never going to be successful, not only in today's age, even in the say 50 years before, 100 years before, 200 years before, 500 years before. Imposing parenting or imposing in relationships never ever are successful. So Vedic system rather is very empowering, very choice giving, actually. For I'll just conclude this part with this, and then I'll go ahead with the 5 myths. That you can see the life of the Dronacharya and the Pandavas. All of you, again, this is an example from Mahabharata. So was Dronacharya an imposing teacher, or was Dronacharya an empowering teacher? We can just see it from that perspective. So did Dronacharya said, I am going to select the subjects and you are going to study, or did he give the choice of what the children, what is the best for the children will be known to the teacher or to the children? This is a very important question. So in principle, the teachers always give choices to the children, and they see that the children also make the right choice. That means there is an environment of guiding, not imposing. This is what I know and this is correct for you. For example, now that Dronacharya, as a military science teacher, he exposed the Pandavas and Kauravas with all the different weapons, and he trained them on all the different weapons. So there is archery, then there is maze fight, gada jo hota hai na, maze fighting, there is sword fighting, there is javelin, the spear, there are so many things, right? So a common training was given to everybody, right? But next, which particular thing they want to excel in, that was never ever imposed on them. Acharya exposed them to the entire military warfare. Okay, these are the weapons you can fight with, but then after that the selection was given to the child himself. So therefore there is a discussion between the teacher and the child. There must be discussion between the child and the parents. The Vedic method of teaching, parenting, and in any relationship is actually empowering one. It was Arjuna who said that I prefer to fight with the bow and arrow. I want to. This is what is coming very close to me. I am feeling very inspired to do that. So therefore, he was given expertise in that direction. Not that he was told, no. I know what is good for you. You have to do this. Just like sir was saying, like engineering is good for you, or this career is good for you, or that is good for you. So it was not imposed on him ever, actually, nor by his parents, nor by his teachers. Rather, the choice was given totally to Arjuna, similarly to Bhima and other Kshatriyas, which particular weapon they would want to fight with. And they were given specific training in that direction, like you can say, a graduate education or a postgraduate education, right? After the common subjects, that was actually taught to them. And then therefore they picked it up. That is how they became successful. That's how they became successful. In fact, in the Vedic times, by the time the child is 15 or 16 years of age, the fellow was made the prince, or that fellow was given the entire responsibility. Abhi aapka hai, this is yours, and now I will not interfere. That is the whole point. Right? Chanakya also says, therefore, like I'll just read it out. I mean, concluding this particular point, because sir mentioned a very important thing, and I feel this is very critical as an attitudinal change, not only in this generation parents, but actually in every time, place, and circumstance. Understand that the role of parenting doesn't remain the same. It changes with time. We will discuss in our next episode next month also in more details, where I will actually talk about the role of the parents in great details. But for suffice you to say, I'll just tell you this particular shloka where Chanakya says, Chanakya Niti, he says this, a very beautiful shloka. He says, Lalet pancha varshani dasha varshani tadayet apte tu shodashe varshe putram mitravad acharet. Putram mitravad acharet. Prapte tu sudashe, as soon as he becomes 16 years of age. This is Vedic parenting, please understand. As soon as he becomes 16 years of age, stop giving him instructions. Now treat him like a friend. Now you should have a discussion with him. Now you should not impose on him, hey, this is what you have to do, that is what you have to do. So before that, when he was from 5 to 15, that is the time to actually give more instructions. But the instructions are also not imposing. Instructions should be such that they're empowering the child. There's a discussion with the child. So in fact, this is one full chapter which I'm writing about communication in my book also. We'll take that some other time after a few months. Okay, so that was just to summarize. Not that the Vedic times, or if we say that our parents, we just listened. So that was not the right way of parenting them. Probably, as the sir said, that's why we lost opportunity to even question anything in life. If you overly tell a person just listen, you are an idiot, you don't know, you cannot actually speak back, you cannot ask questions, you cannot think back, then he will become an idiot. Life, he will become like that only. So definitely we don't want that. We want our children to become thoughtful. We want the children to become self-reliant. We want the children to become those in life, they can actually think for themselves. So therefore, that has to be the parenting right from the 6 years of age. Right from 6 years of age, you can discuss with the person. Of course, we have to teach the child what is good for him. Not that we don't teach that. Okay, so that is a very critical thing which sir had opened up. I will just now take you to with my slideshow. With the help of the slideshow, let me take you a journey on busting the 5 myths. Now, these are so common myths actually. These are so common that nowadays we take them as a fact only. We consider that this is a fact. So they don't no longer people consider that this is a myth or something. Rather, people consider this is a sort of a reality. So let me talk about it. Very parents must adopt the learner's mindset. I think that's very, very important. Now, next we discuss about that actually our behavior and actions are based on certain set of beliefs. Why it is important for you to know, my dear mothers and fathers who come to attend this program, please know that it is important for you to understand what scripts you carry in your mind. What is your belief system? If you consider, oh, teenagers are meaning this is what they will do, then your parenting style will totally change. You will tend to do certain actions, based on your belief system. I'll tell you a small story. Once a person was sitting in the car, and he said as soon as he sat down, he told to that this is a destination I want to go. And it was a peaceful ride. The driver started, driving. It was very long, around 45 minutes to 50 minutes journey. So therefore, he was peacefully sitting, relaxing at the back. And the entire journey, there was no talk. Around half an hour passed. Around they almost were reaching to the destination. Almost 35 minutes passed. At that time, the driver became a little confused, and he wanted to confirm from the person that whether should I take a left turn here or a right turn. And then he just spoke over, sir, should I take the left turn or the right turn? As soon as the driver uttered the statement, suddenly this person who was sitting at the back, he started screaming, ah, 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 save me, ah. The driver, he screamed, he thought, what happened? Something happened or what? There is somebody sitting behind or some bomb is there. Suddenly what happened? As if a snake has come or something. And he's braked the car and said, what happened? What happened? And behind the person was, he said, sir, what happened? He said, when I am sitting inside and you are driving, never speak anything. He said, sir, why? What happened? Is it not normal that I ask you a question that whether should I take a left turn or right turn? No. He said, no. Actually, you don't know what I was previously. So they said, okay, tell me, sir, what happened? Why do you want to why are you uncomfortable with me to ask you something in between? He said, because when I was working 30 years I have worked and I was a truck driver myself. Okay, so that is fine, sir. What happened? Sir, I was a truck driver, and you know what type of truck I used to drive? I used to drive the trucks of the dead bodies. That means I used to transport the dead bodies. And because I was a driver of driving that truck, now I have that that script very deep, that if I hear a sound from behind, right? If I hear a sound while, driving is going on, immediately I consider that, oh, somebody, the ghost or somebody must be speaking. So that is very much inside me, Therefore, I become panicky and I lose control, if somebody starts speaking when when the car is being driven. So this was the mindset of this gentleman. And because of this mindset, his actions and behavior was in that direction. Just like the person was having a mindset because of 30 years of training, right? 30 years of that particular job or something. Similarly, all of us also as parents might have a mindset of our generation that teenager matlab you should do this, you should not do this. And therefore, we might conclude, seeing today's generation children, we may say, oh, today's teenagers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They are like this, like this, like this, like this, like this. This is one thing which I've observed in my service when I went around and met so many people. There is a lot of myths in our society and also in our parents about the teenage behavior. Now, while I have studied teenage psychology, I can explain to you that they are actually myths. They are not the facts. Let's talk on so why they are important, because it can help you to save a lot of struggle in your parenting. If you can understand and have the right mindset towards the teenagers, it can help you a lot to actually do your service of parenting. It can make a big impact on your relationship with your teenager, and in fact in the life of your teenager also. So let's begin. Just quickly take up now. It's because we have just some little time, and one by one we are going to take up the myths and we are going to bust them. So please be with me. It's going to be a very wonderful journey. Please listen very attentively here. Myth number one: teenagers are not responsible. I want to frankly ask you this. Please write on the chat. If you actually feel that this is how it is. I mean, I have met many parents and they say, the moment he has become this 14, 15 years, he is very irresponsible. Doesn't do anything only. The mother says that I tell him, please kindly clean your room. This fellow, after 360 reminders also, he doesn't do. Very irresponsible. Doesn't do this, doesn't do that. And we tell him to do this, he doesn't do that. Why he is so responsible? Why he keeps forgetting everything? So this is one of the. So is it true that teenagers are actually irresponsible, or there could be something else? All right, let's talk about that. A very important one. Like that, we have 4 more. So the first one, let's see. Go ahead. Actually, this misconception can come because of one main reason, and that's on your slide. That teenagers get easily excited about an idea and they immediately say yes, but then that much easily, they also become unexcited. I don't want to do, because they don't know how to deal with their emotions. So therefore, this happens many times while dealing with the teenage children. So they can give up the idea also easily. They can take up the idea also easily. So that's why this can be observed. Oh, they are irresponsible. They don't do things, when told. Actually, the right understanding, I want to tell you, my dear sir and ma'am who have come to attend this program, that the teenagers do like to take responsibility. But for taking up responsibility, their heads and hearts need to be fully convinced. That's the whole point. So let me explain this. I'll give you a few examples also. So the way to treat your teenager is not the way you treat a small child. See, a small child is so small that he's young, so young that he actually does not know anything, no experience. By the time your child has come to say 13, 14, 15 or 16, you cannot say that he or she does not know anything. Obviously, they have lived their life for 14, 15 years. Yes, they may not have perfect knowledge. That is true. But they also feel, especially, it is one thing that they know some things and they don't know certain things. But their ideology, the mind of the teenager, the psychology of the teenager is they want to experience some freedom. Now, is it that we should give them total freedom? Obviously not. We don't need to give them total freedom. But at the same time, we cannot choke them also. If you try to choke them, so the way sometimes the parents are giving responsibilities, they want something to be done exactly the way they do. The parents want the responsibility or whatever they are asking the child to do exactly that way they want. Now, that's not going to happen. In fact, that is not going to happen with you hire a maid servant. I have seen the same thing happening with the maid servants also. You hire a maid servant, and every mother in the family, she always complains about the maid servant. Oh, she is not cleaning in this way. She is not doing this way. Because the problem is that in this world, only you can do the things your way. There is nobody else who can do the things exactly in the same way as you want. It is impossible. That's the whole point. But at the same time, if you deal with your maid servant with respect, you have a proper communication, then you can get your objectives achieved. The same thing has to be done with the children. And of course, you should know that children are not paid servants. They are not going to do exactly because they want money or something. No. So here, the main currency of exchange is love and affection. A child will want to learn the way you do things. If there is love, if there is affection, at the same time, there is some freedom given to them to exercise their own choices. My experience with dealing with teenagers, I'll tell you, teenagers are excited about taking responsibilities. You ask teachers, those teachers who know how to, as I was telling in the very beginning, those who know how to teach well, right? Not just their subjects. Those who know how to teach well, right? They know the human psychology. Teenagers especially, they learn by taking responsibilities. In fact, the Vedic education system is also heavily dependent on giving responsibilities to the children when they especially come to 12, 13 years of age and above. Right? So it is absolutely wrong to think that teenagers don't want to take up responsibility, but they need guided freedom. They need freedom, and nobody in the world can do things exactly according to your mindset. There is nobody. You can see when the husband and wife, also wife says, I want things to be done this way. Husband says, no, not this way. So there is difference of opinion. So my dear father and mother, don't think that you're just like there could be difference of opinion between mother and father with the servant and the mother. Then what is the problem in understanding that even child can have a difference of opinion? Okay, they think something differently. So you give them responsibility, but do not overly correct them. Just like a mother, sends a child for purchasing grocery or sabji. Fine, no problem. So at the same time, you may have to explain how to do that responsibility. And then also they will use their own mind and they come back home. Don't keep on first thing. Hey, you did not do this well. Hey, you did not do this well. This. My God. If this is the way you will deal with the teenager, first of all, he has gone and brought the sabji, brought the grocery. But if you only keep finding faults, then not only your child, anybody will not want to do that work again. They will feel like, oh, if I do this, I'll get to hear this, that, so many hundreds of things, right? So please understand that children are behaving very much in a logical way. It's like any other adult, any other human being will behave. If you overly nag them, if you overly find faults with them, nobody will want to take up responsibility. So this is what I observed, that the parents find so many faults when a child is doing something, the child becomes totally discouraged. Instead, what we have to do, it is not that we have to tolerate the mistake. It is that we have to communicate about that mistake in the right manner with respect. This is the first thing, as sir was telling very much about that with respect. Respect is the first thing which has to be there in the relationship, and teenagers really need your respect. If you respect your teenager, actually teenager can be trained so nicely. I have done it. I have observed it in hundreds of times, thousands of times, the same thing happening. So therefore, I can tell you with full confidence, teenagers do want to take responsibility if it is given with there's a guided freedom, and you don't overly jump upon them to find faults when they do mistakes. Let them do mistakes, communicate with them properly to improve that, and they will actually improve it also. They like to take your inputs also. I'll tell you about that also in the next bit. So what you need to do, it's on the screen. Avoid responsibilities and don't give bad experience by micromanaging, nagging, or over fault finding. Right? Rather, you can communicate with affection if you want to see some improvement. Okay, that's second myth. Second myth, very popular again. What is that? Teenagers escape parent authority. Matlab, they don't want to listen to the parents at all. But even this is a myth. I will tell you, this is actually a myth. Okay, why it happens? Why it can happen? So that the parents can feel this, because they seek relationships outside the family, especially during the teenage. They want to they want to seek friendships. Their peers, their friends become more important for them, right? So therefore they want to make such relationships, and parents start feeling neglected. Parents start feeling, he or she is not prioritizing his relationship with me. अरे मैंने इतना sacrifice किया, मैंने इतना सब कुछ किया, my child is not grateful. He is forgetting that I asked him to come and meet me at this time. Rather, he is playing with the friends. Rather, he is going here. For him, it seems, for him or her, seems like his friends are so important. Others are so important. And parents are not at all important. The parent may actually start feeling that. Oh, they want to escape parent authority. And So now I want to tell you, dear parents, that one of the things which symbolizes the beginning of teenagers, that they want an identity to be developed. Teenagers want a separate identity from their parents. So what does it mean? They don't only want to be known as Mr. Nayar's son or Mrs. Verma's daughter or something like that. So that they want to make their own identity, not that they should be known only through their parents' identity. You understand? That's the meaning of wanting to have an identity of one's own. And that's the reason they actually want outside the family, the close family, they want some other relationships. They're exploring out things. Is it good or bad? Actually, it is good. This is how nature has made human beings. Array, that fellow, that child, your child will have to stand on his or her legs one day. And therefore, nature has made the entire human being in such a way that at a certain stage, there is a longing to be oneself. There is a longing to be, not be totally identical with one's family, right? That does not mean that they have to overthrow parents' authority. No, that is not what I'm talking about. It's not that they should overthrow parents' authority, and not that even the teenagers also don't want that. But what they want is they want an identity of their own. Now, just like, again, talk any other adult in your family, like you have your husband, you have your wife, you have your sister, you have your brother. They're adults. Are they totally identical with you? Absolutely not. You can have your identity, they can have their identity. You can have your value system, what you think to be right, wrong, and what is good or bad, and they can have their own system. It's not that it should be totally identical. Like one person may like chocolate, another person may like something else. One person may like sweets, another person may like salty food, etc. So similarly, this is just a simple example, but it is also for the identity, for the psychological understanding, correct? So the child wants his or her own identity to be formed, and the parents must help in that. Why? Because that is what parenting is all about. Parenting is not about that, not up to the age of 100 that fellow should be dependent on me. Array, no. The parenting, in fact, we all know that is what we don't want. We want that the child should stand on his or her leg. But we also want that they should stand properly, they should not fall off. Exactly. So we want that. No, that is what will happen. If you understand that they are not escaping your authority, they want an identity of their own. If you support them in that, other than opposing, if you understand that, then see what will happen. Right? Appreciate them. Okay, yeah, now they want to stand on their own leg. Very good. And help them, encourage them in that. They will start respecting you so much. They will start obeying you so much then. Huh? So let's also talk on the slide. What is there? I'll give you an example for that also. So rather, what is actual understanding? Children always seek validation. But one thing you have to do, and what I'm telling is not the modern, parenting. It is the actual Vedic parenting, that the decision should not be enforced on the child. It should be discussed with the child. They should also have a say in it. In fact, this is what is leadership all about. When Lord Ramachandra, when I'm just giving you Vedic examples, because sometimes in India we feel that this is what the actual parenting was. No, sir, no, man. Actually, you can see example of even Ramachandra. Ramachandra was, of course, Lord, and as well as he was the king. But when Vibhishan came to join Rama's party from Lanka, he flew and he came and he wanted to join Lord Rama when the Setu Bandha, right? When the fight with Rama was about to happen, Lord Rama did not take a decision and impose a decision on all others that I'm going to accept Vibhishan. No, rather he held a meeting. He held a meeting of all the important Vanaras and he asked them, what is your opinion whether we should take him inside or not? And everybody spoke out their opinion that we feel that, oh, if you take, after all, he's a blood brother and he can actually create a problem. He can leak all the secrets. How can we trust him? So many different opinions came. And then after hearing everyone's opinion, finally at the end, the Lord Rama spoke his opinion. And that is why everybody felt respected. And this is the way a decision making is done. Like if Rama can do that, why we as parents think that we have to impose our decisions on our children? Absolutely not. This is never the way a leader will behave. Rather, leader will want to listen to the perspective of everybody. And obviously, then the leader should also present their perspective. If you do this kind of dealing, you will find that the child is very eager to hear from you. Provided you don't impose your decisions, to ask their choices as well. And of course, if you see that their choices have certain, let's say 50% it is right and 50% is wrong, you can say, yeah, this part is very, very good. But I feel that this another 50% we can make an adjustment. This is the negotiation. In the human dealing, it is very important. In your office, if you don't do this, I don't think so you can ever work in your office. This is a human practical dealings. So why we forget that back at home we should not be like this? We have to be discussing. We have to be empowering their choice. They are grown-ups now. They are not small kids, and we should never treat them as small kids. After all, we are the ones, we encourage them, then only they will grow up. In the families where children are respected like this, where their decisions are heard, it is not that 100% of their choice should be implemented. I am not saying about that. I am saying they are heard, they are felt heard, they are respected. They are very much willing to be influenced by you. Just like when Rama, he heard many objections to actually keep Vishnu in the military camp, but Rama assured all of them that no, what you're saying is very true, but don't worry. I give you the guarantee that he will not do anything. This is my promise to you. I see that he is a great devotee of mine. And in fact, then Hanuman also spoke up. Hanuman said, I have seen when I went to Lanka, I also saw that he was a very greatly devoted. He is not doing the trickery here. So then everybody finally concluded. So this is the way discussion should be done. And you can influence them. You may not be able to force, but you can influence them very nicely. So they do not escape parenting authority. Rather, they want to take validation from you, sir. This is what I have observed. Even when you are forcing, he rebels or he goes away, but still he or she wants to confirm from their parents, because that is what is there. It is natural for a child. He will do it. She will do it only. Okay. Please note that. So what should the parents do? I already told you. Accept that the teenagers will not ask everything. That is another thing. Not that the teenagers should ask everything. And we should also not feel that sab kuch mujhse puchna chahiye. That is wrong. And we should have open lines of communication. Important things they should ask you. That is a point. We can have that culture at home, a very healthy culture. Third myth. Let's go and let's discuss about that. Third myth is teenagers like breaking rules. This is another thing which is so common. But is it true? I will tell you this is not true. You know why? Because one of the reasons people can feel like that, parents can feel like this, is because they don't no longer follow the same rules which you have made when they were children. Now, my dear sir and ma'am, again the same principle of thinking like a human being. The child is grown up beyond a certain age. And just like you and me don't like rules upon us. Aapko rule acha lagta hai kya? You suppose somebody makes a rule, a very rigid rule on you, that if you don't come home by 8 p.m. then khana nahi milega. Suppose your wife tells you, I am the cooking here, right? And if the husband doesn't come by 8 p.m. matlab. So obviously, there cannot be a rule like that. But there can be a sort of a healthy boundary. And obviously, all the elders, all the human beings are happy to have boundaries. Nobody is happy to have a rigid rule. No adult is ever happy to have a rigid rule. The same thing holds true for the teenagers also. They don't want a rigid rule to be put on them. If you don't do this, if it is, suppose a teenager, I'll give. See, this is where I have seen so much struggle, power struggle keeps happening, and the whole family, as they say, it becomes like a Kurukshetra war inside the home, which is not very good. Especially the father and the son struggle is too, sometimes it can become very bitter. But not very good. I can assure you, your children want to follow certain healthy boundaries, but they don't want rigid rules. Rigid rules have two very important characteristics. Please hear this. This will be very helpful. Number one, that there is no discussion with the child while making the rule. And number two, it is inflexible, which means it doesn't take into consideration the time, place, circumstances, etc. Right? So, for example, suppose a child comes up and asks, "Daddy, I want this mobile game. I want to play. I want to have this mobile and internet, etc." Suppose he's asking or she is asking, and you say, "In my home, nobody will be, having this mobile, and it is bad for you. It is totally prohibited. You are a small child. You don't know. We cannot give you." So you make a very rigid rule. Now, what will happen? This will never ever. If he forcefully follows this, what is he going to do? As the sir was telling a very beautiful example about that. that what he's going to do, when he goes outside of the home, he will never tell you, but he will start playing with the mobile of some other friend, or some way or other, he will escape your authority and then he will do something. Why? Because you have made a rigid rule where he just cannot speak to you. This is not the way we can get their following. What we can do rather, we can have a discussion in a very healthy manner. So we can say, okay, what is the need which you have? What are the right uses of the mobile and internet? What are the wrong uses of mobile and internet? You can give your own example how you use the mobile and internet, and how you do not want the child to be wasting their valuable time and energy, etc., etc. All them can be very peacefully discussed, and then we can arrive at a boundary. Okay, beta, you can have, let's say, in a day half an hour, 45 minutes, something like something, say, once a week, twice a week, or when every day 1 hour. You can have a healthy use of internet if you wish, which is required for your growth. That you can do under guidance, and then you should also follow that rule. See, just like, can you avoid using internet and mobile, etc., completely? Definitely not, right? So you say, I am a grown up, so I know what is good entertainment, what is not good entertainment. Hey, Baba, the only way you teach your child is that if you're making a boundary, even you are supposed to follow that. And that is why boundary is flexible. That boundary is flexible. So that you can also follow, that the child will also follow. If you do like that, you see the child will be very happy. I have seen parents who don't want their children to use mobile, etc. Even they also don't use it. Like, you don't want your child to watch the television, etc., because they have to study for competitive exam or whatever, then you should also be following that. Arey, thoda sacrifice to karna padega. You don't want to do any sacrifice, you only want to make rules. That's not parenting. I will tell you one time a lady was fed up with this child. He used to eat so many sweets. So she went to this gentleman, I think Gandhiji. He went to Gandhiji and said, Gandhiji, I want you to, tell to my child that he should not eat sweets. Gandhiji said, oh, really? He's eating sweets, huh? Then the mother said, yeah, he eats too many sweets and he's spoiling everything. His gums are spoiling, teeth are spoiling. Please tell him, Gandhiji. So Gandhiji, to the surprise of the lady, said, actually, what you do, after 1 week, you please come. Right now, I cannot tell to you. Said, come on, you can't tell one statement. You said, no, after 1 week. The lady was very surprised. Said, okay. She was little morose. After 1 week, she came. And then he said the same problem and said, yeah, now you bring your child. And he said, please bring your child. The child came, and then Gandhiji looked in the eyes of the child and said, beta, eating sweets is not good for your health. It will spoil your teeth. This will spoil your gum. I want you that you should not eat too many sweets now. Then the mother said, this is what I wanted to tell you. I wanted you to tell him. Then why didn't you tell it 1 week before? Why you called me second time? Then the Gandhiji said, actually, when you came last week, I was also eating a lot of sweets. And for last 1 week, I avoided sweets altogether. Now my words will have the power to affect the mind of your child. That is why now I can speak to him, that's beta, you should not have sweets. So my dear sir, my dear ma'am, please understand the Vedic paradigm of parenting is, if you want that child to follow something, first you should show your own example. I have seen parents are playing with the mobile, they're watching YouTube, etc. They're doing so many things with the mobile, etc. And they're saying, hey child, hey. The child feels, Baba, ye kaisa? Ye nainsafi hai. This is, so you cannot say, no, child does not know good for him. No, sir, you are elder, you are mature, then you role model for the child. Then he will follow the boundaries. That's why I said rules are not very good. Boundaries are very good, but boundaries have to be followed by the parents also. Let's go to the fourth myth. So I hope that you are relishing this program, and you are, please type it on the comments and tell us also that are you relishing it, so I hope that this will be helpful. Follow such boundaries yourself and have healthy boundaries. This is what human beings can actually do. No human being likes rigid rules, right? Next, myth number 4. Let's quickly get to the end of this program now, and then we can have questions and answers. Myth number 4, teenagers are extremely indecisive. Matlab kya? That fellow, he keeps changing his everything. He keeps changing his hairstyle, he keeps changing his clothes, he keeps changing so many things. Change. I am sure you parents have seen that. आज ये हेयर स्टाइल बोलेगा, कल मूवी देख रहा है, he will see some other movie, he will see another hairstyle. कभी इधर कभी उधर, कितना indecisive रहते हैं. Is it true that the teenagers are indecisive? I want to tell you my experience. Even this is a very great myth. Let's see what's on the slide. So basically, yeah, they could do a lot of experimenting. We agree with that. But are they indecisive? Absolutely not. The real understanding is this. Please hear attentively. This will help you a lot. They are actually trying to go towards a definite course of action, but they want to experience and see it for themselves. You're getting? It's not that they want to remain indecisive. No. Rather, they want to come to a conclusion. But how do they want to come to a conclusion? By their own self. And please note, my dear parents, that even for you also, when you derive a conclusion on your own, you actually learn it the best. But by hearing from somebody else, by just hearing from someone, you may not take it too much, seriously. But when you arrive to that conclusion by your own, you take it very seriously. I have seen this in my teaching also, in my various interactions with people also. When they arrive at a conclusion themselves, that's when they become totally convinced. But only by hearing we may not be fully convinced. Correct? So therefore, the children, they want to arrive at a conclusion. They arrive at a definite decision. But for that, they are doing little experimenting. So for this reason, you should not get too much worried about it. Like I have seen sometimes parents say, my daughter will wear such a short dress. Oh, my son will wear so many different types of hairstyles, etc. But I want to tell you, it's just a passing phase. It is just a passing phase. After 2 months, that fellow will change again and again, come back to a normal hairstyle. Or your daughter will start wearing proper dresses, provided there is a way to deal with it. You again don't exercise your power. If you exercise your power, they will, just for the sake of differing from you, just for the sake of saying that I am different from you, they will continue. Like your daughter may continue to wear very short dresses, or your son may have very different type of things. It's possible. That is why parents should not exercise their heavy authority on things like that. It is totally counterproductive. Right? If your child is going through such kind of indecision thinking, what you should be doing? That means they want to arrive at a conclusion, but they're not able to by themselves. So first of all, let them do small experiments in their life if it is not too harmful for them. Correct? It's not that for every small thing you need to change, because by their own experience, they will learn. They will make mistake, they will learn. Right? So what is first thing? Let them do small experiments, no problem. And we can have a discussion with them, right? We can have a very peaceful, in a very happy mood. We can discuss with them. If you do like that, you help them to have a support. They always feel that my parents are supporting me. Then your children will listen to you very nicely. Yeah, so that's on the slide. Let's see that. Again, on the slide, I will show you. What is the right thing which you should do? You should give them the trust and the confidence that, okay, you can make what you want to do, and I am there at your back. Anytime you have confusion, anytime you want to ask something, please come and ask us. We are there for you. And you will find that the children will come and ask you. Right? And second is, don't judge them for small things. Rather, support them in their decisions. And you will find that they start asking you. They themselves will say, Mama, I'm sorry, I wore this dress. Actually, I also didn't feel very good. Even I was also not feeling very, good. Happy. I know that you will also not be happy. But, just because my friends are also telling, I'm so thankful that actually you didn't make you accepted me. Now I will, not wear this kind of dress again. They will say like that to you, you will see that. If you have that dealing with respect and love and affection, and not, hammer like authority or not get too much over worried and keep on commenting on that child, that is available. Give them the love, give them the support. My dear child, I trust you. I know that you can, you are grown up, you have understood our family values, and I'm sure that you will do something which is good. And let them do some small mistake, they will come back to you again. Right? That's the thing. Okay. So fifth one, if you have any questions, I'm going to open up with the questions just in 2-3 minutes. Just hold on for a few more minutes. Myth number 5, teenagers don't listen, they only argue. Again, this is very commonly, I have heard from parents that, the children are arguing, etc. But actually teenagers, they want to speak out their opinions. That's why you may feel like they're arguing. This doesn't mean that they don't want to listen to you. All they want is that they cannot do blind obedience. And it is not good for you to ask them to do blind obedience also. Rather, you should teach your child how to think, how to question, and how to come at right conclusions. This is your duty, my dear parents. After all, this is what you are supposed to teach them. So if their viewpoint is respected, they will respect your viewpoint also, right? And they will come to the at least some midway. If not completely obey you, at least they will come to a midway part. So how you can deal? Teach the child to share ideas for things concerning his life. In fact, you should ask, even if the child is not giving, you should ask. You should ask them their opinion. You empower them. They will feel very happy, right? And then feel happy when the child expresses. And then also, if you come to a conclusion, you should also walk your talk. Then they will want to listen to you. If you give your ear to your child will also give a ear to you. It is a common thing. If you hear someone nicely, they also want to hear you nicely. So don't think that teenagers only want to argue. No, they want to be listened. They want the respect that, oh, my father, my mother also listens to me and also values my opinions. See, valuing a person's opinion does not mean following that opinion. No, value means, yeah, okay, fine, you're thinking like that, that's good. At the same time, we also want you to understand this. So then they are happy that you valued their opinion. You did not judge them. Oh, you are wrong only, you are a child only, you are a fool only, what you will do, we only know best, you don't know anything. And that way, that is disrespect to a child, disrespect to anybody actually. If you speak like that to anybody else, they will not want to come back and talk to you anytime. Right? So that is what leads to the arguments. Fine. So this leads to, like, for example, I'll give you a classic example. Like a daughter went to the father and said, my dear father, I want to join dance classes. And she was like in 11th standard, right? And of course, she was studying biology and PCB, physics, chemistry, biology. Of course, after in the 12th is a very important time, and then there is a competitive exams, etc. So she said to the father, I want, very excitedly, she went and said to the father, I want to join some dance classes. And they started describing that, this dance is so nice, we want to do that. And suddenly the father, 2 days before only, the father was talking about a competitive exam and this and that. Suddenly the father lost his patience. He said, come on, how can you, think about dance and this, that is simply wasting your time. I know why you are, thinking like that. You are thinking like this because you are friends, this girl, that girl, this girl, that girl, all of them are, such a bad children. And because of them, you are actually feeling that you should be dancing this. I don't agree with that. And then the daughter says, how can you speak like this for my friends? We are not wanting to go for some Western dance and this and break dance and this, that. We want to learn some very cultural dance, like Bharatnatyam or something like that. It's Indian art. We really loved it. How can you speak like this? Then the parent becomes even more angry. He said, now you are arguing with me. Now you want your father should listen to you. You are such a small daughter. How can you speak like that? So this is the way the whole thing becomes spoiled. If you notice very carefully in this example which I gave you, actually the daughter is expressing her desire. And of course, there is nothing wrong in learning Bharatnatyam cultural dance if that's what she wishes to learn. And if she wishes to join some cultural dance classes, I don't think so. A parent should be so narrow-minded that only physics, chemistry, and biology is important in life and nothing else is important in life. Correct? So if you see in this example, it was all about, she's not asking complete freedom. She's asking some freedom to do what they want to do. If you help them to do what they want to do, they will help you do what you want them to do. Right? You understand that? It's a mutual cooperation which the parent and the child must have. If the parent is pushing their opinion the way which I showed an example, then they will totally reject whatever the parent is saying because they don't want to cooperate. Parent doesn't want to cooperate with the child. He wants his way. Then the child will say, I want my way. Because they are growing up. So now they're not going to listen to what you are saying. They want their way, and that is why so many troubles come in the Indian families, which I have observed. A lot of power struggle, a lot of troubles, and a lot of rebellion comes upon. All right, so I think this is a very good time. Sir has also joined us, I'm seeing. I think for the question answers round. And just want to summarize my presentation very quickly in 2-3 minutes. Okay, so if you see the 5 myths which I spoke about today, they can be put up into an acronym. So teens are not responsible. We discussed about that. Teens escape parenting authority. Teens like breaking rules. Teens are extremely indecisive. And the last one we discussed just now was teens don't listen, they only argue. So this can be arranged in an acronym of REBEL, which is one of the greatest myths that the teenagers want to rebel. But as we discussed that actually they are not rebelling. It is natural for a child at the age of 14 or 15 or 16 to have his own or her own identity. And if that is understood, if there is a mutual respect, the culture of respect is brought out in the family, not power struggle, not an ego struggle, but a culture of mutual cooperation, a healthy discussion, a healthy respectful attitude towards each other, then you will find that the children don't argue. And obviously one of the, they don't rebel. One more thing is about parents should also teach their children about what is the right type of friendship, what is the wrong type of friendship. Because apart from parents, from where do the children can learn about what is right and wrong? From their friend circle. So you should help them choose the right type of friends. Okay? That kind of proper knowledge also should be given. And if there is good harmony between the husband and wife, if there is no quarrels, etc. at home, you won't find that your child will be rebelling. If child is rebelling, the parents should take it as their responsibility that I have taught him or her something wrong. Maybe I have shown quarrels at home. I have shown that we don't respect each other's opinion. Then, because the parents are showing that type of behavior, children also learn that type of behavior. Or if the parents have not been very careful in how the children are mixing up with the other people, right? They are mixing up with people, those who could be teaching something wrong to your child. And also it's a parenting mistake because you didn't at the right time didn't pay attention to the child's relationship with others, the association or the friendship circle. So this should be also observed. And in that situation, actually children don't want to rebel, especially if the parents are healthy, having the healthy relationship of love, affection, and mutual respect and cooperation. You will find that parents actually want to also listen to the children, also want to respect their elders. They also want to follow their elders. Okay, so I think this is a summary of what we spoke. Let's have some round of questions and answers. So Giridhar, now you can have you can have the questions, and sir has also joined, so sir can also answer those questions. Yes, Giridhar, you can continue further.
Thank you, sir, for that session. It was very, very wonderful. So we have actually collected 4 questions from the audience. We'll be going in order. So what if this question is being asked by Nikita Shah? What if a husband and wife are fighting and the child interferes?
I think I was just speaking about that. Yes, maybe sir wants to answer. Sir can.
Sir, actually, we are unable to hear you.
Unmute. You can ask the sir to unmute.
Sir is unmuted, but I'm not sure if the mic is not working.
Hear me now?
Yeah, now we can hear you, sir. Thank you.
Okay. The second time I unmuted. Okay. Now, if you want me to answer, please repeat the question.
Okay, sir. The question is, what if the husband and wife are fighting and the child interferes? What is to be done?
Well, the first thing I would say is the husband and wife should not fight in the presence of the children. This is one of the things that I think all parents should observe, because at a very impressional age of the child, if the husband and wife are fighting, the first impression that the child gets, he doesn't know whom to follow, because if he follows one of them, the other will be unhappy, and that's not a giving direction to the child. So first rule you should observe is don't fight in the presence of children. If you have to fight, fight in a closed door, not in the presence of the children. Assuming that the child is there, I think you have to explain to them later on. If there is inevitably the child is present, then you have to explain to them it was only a difference of opinion, it was not a physical fight, and that the husband and wife are entitled to their views, but yeah, independent decision should hold good, and or you should give an indication that you have reconciled the differences so that the child doesn't get mentally disturbed. Because I have seen some children remember this for a long time. They sometimes they don't even like to get married after seeing husband and wife fighting. So you have to ensure that the children don't get the wrong message by fighting in their presence, or even if you fight, you must reconcile as early as possible in his presence or in the child's presence, so that it doesn't get a message that marriages are bad and difference of opinion cannot exist, or that one should not welcome marriage as a good measure. So you have to clearly say that two adults can differ in their opinion, but they don't have to violently argue about it, and try to find a reconciliation at the earliest stage in the presence of the child.
Amal sir, would you like to add something?
Yeah.
Thank you for the answer, sir.
Yeah. Sir very correctly answered. Actually, as you see, sir has said that if the you can have the spotlight on me, you can change. Yes, correct. So basically, sir's answer is absolutely correct, as he's saying that if you think about it, if the parents are actually fighting, as he said, now the child does not know whom to follow. He has a conflict on which authority is right. And in fact, I ended my speech with this example only exactly, that if there are quarrels at home in the family, when people don't know that there can be a healthy reconciliation of difference of opinions, it's then that the children also, when they differ with the parents, they will also rebel. They will also quarrel, they will also fight. So who is teaching the children how to fight? Who is teaching the children how to quarrel? It is we only. When we are showing an example of we can't reconcile when there is difference of opinion, and we have to fight to reconcile it. There cannot be a healthy, peaceful discussion. And children also understand, okay, this is the way I should do when I have a difference with somebody. So this is actually what I was talking about. This is a very wrong role modeling. So in fact, that's the reason I say that for raising your teenager, first you have to raise yourself. We have to raise our own attitude. We have to learn human dealings. We have to improve upon, as sir was talking about, also the interpersonal aspect of dealings. Especially in India, I've observed this going across east, west, north, south, everywhere. I'm not talking about particular type of particular place right now, but going across in India, I've observed this, that this interpersonal dealings, there is no time when the children actually learn. Like we were children sometime, but was there some time which you learned about interpersonal dealing? Think about it. Have you ever thought about it? Oh, interpersonal dealings, how to give respect to other person when they're, how to differ with respect. So these are life skills. I believe that even the parents also need certain life skills. I am writing one more book after some time, which is about marital harmony, because I have observed so many family marital disharmonies, as sir was telling today. Now it has become very problematic for the children. So thank you, sir, for that answer. I think
one more point I'll add.
Yes.
Can I add?
Yes, sir, please.
One more point. The children have a remarkable memory. Even though you might have forgotten that fight altogether, when similar incident appears, he will remember and then quote that incident, he or she, as the case may be. So please note that the children's memory is longer and sharper than us, and so it's better to be careful when you have difference of opinion, and as far as possible, give an impression that there is a cohesive home, and that there is no dispute all the time, and arguments will give an impression that they are not mutually happy. So you have to at least over a period of time give an impression that the differences are only in terms of opinion, but otherwise there is a harmonious home. That impression should be given.
Yes. So then you can take the second question.
Yes, sir. Okay, thank you. So the next question is, sir, you actually cited the example of Lord Ram taking opinions of other soldiers, or like in office, employer taking opinions of other employees. But all this feels little official. In my home, I want to behave in a natural way, not in a very formal way. So, what is to be done?
I think Amal should answer this, I suppose.
Okay. And sir, you can also add after I'll speak on this. In fact, you
Yes, do it.
are
You can answer, because I don't know what exactly you had in your mind when you mentioned about Ram.
yeah. I said that how a leader, a good leader is one who always takes inputs from all the subordinates he leads. Before coming to a final decision, okay, this is what we are going to decide. Generally, a good leader is one who is participative in spirit. That, okay, the other people, those who are going to help me to execute that decision, what is their opinion? Let us take everyone's opinion and like hear that and discuss it, and then finally arrive at a conclusion. Now, somebody who is saying that this looks too official, that's what exactly I meant to say in my answer to the first question. Have we ever learned how to have a right interpersonal dealings? Like I was for 1.5 years, I was a training placement assistant officer for one engineering college for 1.5 years. I was training the children. There were a group of 450 students which we were training for placements. And one of the statistics in India, that it is that around 75% of these students are unemployable. And then we found out, okay, why they're unemployable? What exactly? Is it that they're lacking in some engineering or something? But what we found is they lack very largely in how to work in teams, right? How to work in a group. So that interpersonal dealings aspect is something which I feel a lot to be improved in our India actually at present, because I think so in our education system there is no participative learning program. Of course, nowadays IITs at least have included that, and I'm sure that many other colleges would be implementing. But it is a skill to be learned. It is a very important skill to be learned, that how to live with others, especially when they differ with your opinion. Is it that you have to fight with them, or they can be a very peaceful, cooperative coexistence? That's exactly I mean by interpersonal skill. So you are talking about that it is official for you that in my home I want to be the boss. I want to take decision, everybody should follow. I want to tell you that Lord Rama is speaking that it is not possible. Actually, the right consciousness of a leader is I am servant of everybody whom I lead. There's a book by Stephen Sinek called what do you call that? Servant leadership. Of course, this is a Vedic concept, and it can be seen very much in Lord Rama also, as I explained. But what he says, and one line which I saw very nicely, he says that the leaders, they eat the last. They don't eat the first. See, whoever is the leader, they will make sure they eat the last. So generally in a home, it is the mother. So mother is the actual leader of the home. Therefore, you will find that the child goes to the mother and always listens what the mother is speaking. And the father assumes I am the leader. But if somebody is a leader, they are supposed to show an example that I am in the mood of assisting and helping and serving the persons whom I am leading. So that you say that I want to be at ease at my home and want to take the boss position. That's not a very right attitude. That could be thought about a little bit. Maybe sir can add now.
The principle of consultation is certainly desirable and ideal, but sometimes it may not be possible in the sense, when the number of family members is there at home, particularly in the context of a joint family and so on. As far as possible, consultation is good. But what is more important, probably in my opinion, is to first find out the views of the person, teenage child, what does he think, and find out how his mind works in a particular issue. And if you think it is correct, support him. If you think it is not correct, tell him there are other courses available. It's for you to choose which one is right. So consultation or consensus is the ideal proposition. Rama is, of course, Uttama Purusha. Whatever he did in his life, I think is a perfect example, but sometimes it may not be possible to follow. The best thing is throw the ball in his court and find out what is his reaction or her reaction, and find out if it is reasonably good, accept it. If it is not reasonably good, you can also say there are other alternatives available. You can explore and then take a positive decision.
Yes, sir. That's exactly what I told in the story, that after Rama heard everybody, he told his opinion, and then there was a negotiation that which opinion is good, and everybody concluded what Rama was speaking. Yes. Okay. Yes, sir. The next question we get.
I have got another meeting by 8, so I will finish off if you don't mind.
Yeah, last question.
Two more you said. Okay, I'll finish it up quickly. That's all.
Yes, sir. So we'll have one more question. So this is actually a question which I also had, and it was luckily asked by the audience also. So when the child is at a career deciding age, like 12th, and still he is not very focused about studying, and frequently he's shifting his interest, how to deal with this? Because specifically you mentioned that teenagers for some time are indecisive, but in some matters like career, unless they decide early enough, they may not be successful. So as a parent, it may create a feeling of insecurity, and there's a tendency to push. So what is the right thing to do in this situation?
No, if you think that your views are not in consonance with the child's view, or child is unable, is confused and doesn't know what to do it, there are better ways of doing it. The teacher can help him so that he doesn't get an impression that he's being imposed by the parents, or a friend, family friend can do that, or alternatively his sister or his age group sibling can help. But all that you do, don't force it on the child. Because traditionally, particularly in this part of India, the parents definitely impose their views on what they should do. Because when he's about 17 or 18, he has to take a view about his future career. They say you take biotechnology or electronic engineering and so on. I still remember when I took my son to Pilani for admission, and they gave him the dual degree, and he didn't know whether he should accept dual degree or not. I told him, in my view, it should have a dual degree, and we should do it because one was an engineer, information technology, other was finance. But if you have any doubts, you talk to the teacher. The faculty is there, sitting there. They will tell you what are the subjects covered, and if you think that it will be useful to you. So ultimately, it is a collaborative effort. But all that I would insist on is, don't force the child to take a course that you like. And the child should feel comfortable, be happy about it. And then in whatever choice of field that he has exercised his choice, I think you should support him. You should not say that you did not follow my advice, so you suffer. I'm not going to help you and things like that. So you have to be a little more understanding. Tell him that if you have any problems in this, having chosen something, if you are not able to cope with that, bring some outsider, teacher, friend, or a sibling to talk to him instead of giving an impression that the parent is imposing something on him. And don't ever discourage a child. That's very important. Because even if he has made a mistake or has taken a wrong decision, you can tell them still you can come out of it, you can find a way to go over the difficulty. Because when once you give an impression that his decision is wrong and that my decision would have been better, then again there will be an inferiority complex and so on. The best thing is, even if he has made a mistake in his choice, you should try to encourage him either to continue or make a small change if it is necessary, an allied subject and so on. And you should always pat him and then give a feeling that you are a friend. As I told you, above the shoulder is only he or she is a friend. Not you have to treat the person as an adult. Don't ever show an accusing finger to the child.
So thank you, sir. That was very wonderful answer. And in fact, actually, after a few months, this career aspect is such an important aspect. After a few months, we are going to have a session dedicated on career choice for your teenagers. How to decide the career, So there are two extremes, as I think the question is also speaking about. One is that the parents only impose totally. Okay, this is what is good for you, and there is no discussion with the child, and child feels, I am not able to do what I want to do. That's definitely not going to work. Even in short term, you just make them go inside engineering college or medical college. They are not going to put heart in it, and they'll always feel lost in life. That's not good. Another extreme is parent doesn't play any role in the decision. That is also wrong. We definitely have to help the child to come to a conclusion, and we can see what choices the child is coming in, with. Okay, the child says, I am not good at maths, I'm not good at biology, I don't want to do engineering and medical both. And that you could see in his history, right? You are a parent, you have seen what he is excelling or she is excelling at. If somebody is only getting 60-70% marks in maths, and you overly pressurize them somehow complete an engineering degree, it's going to be very pathetic. It can be very, very pathetic. I have observed that, so many times children are just simply crying that why was I forced to join this, degree college? I never wanted to do that. They wanted to do something else. So we have to look at a parent should not take a decision or should not start thinking about the decision in the 12th standard. That's the main point. They should observe the long time journey of what the child has been liking to study from a long time. If starting from your 5th or 6th standard, you could observe the inclination of the child, and with a very broad-minded view, not thinking that only engineering or only medical, or only some XYZ is the options. Thinking from more broader perspective, we should try to help a child to do what they like to do and can excel in. So don't have extreme views that only parent should decide, or parent has nothing to offer to the child. No, parent has to offer his understanding about the child. Like if somebody asks me, I have done this a lot of times. So if somebody asks me that what stream or what should I do, I just ask them, describe to me what your path has been, what you feel you have been doing good from the last 5-6 years. I openly discuss with them, and then 80% of the things come out from the child, and 20% I start discussing based on what they have already told me, not what is already in my mind. Okay, so I think that's a participative decision, and we'll take a full 1 hour session on career choices some other time. This is in short what I wanted to discuss.
May I say thank you very much. I enjoyed being part of your deliberations, and I do hope that the parents found it useful or interesting. Thank you. I'll take leave of you.
Thank you so much, sir. That was really wonderful. Your wisdom has been surely helping us, and we wish that some more times you actually come and maybe we can have an exclusive program by you also.
I won't say wisdom. I'll only say my experience. Maybe the teacher.
Yes, sir.
Good.
Yes,
thank you. Thank you very much. Bye.
Thank you so much. That was very nice of you to do. Yes. So, Giridhar, I think we can end the program now.
Okay. Okay, sir. So, thank you for everybody who has joined us today. We are really grateful to have been able to serve you. We have some quick announcements for you. So let me just share my screen. It'll be very quick. First things first, let us know how we can serve you better. We'll be circulating a feedback form in the YouTube live chat. Please take a moment to fill this out. It would really help us. And don't forget to pre-order the Parenting Teenagers in 21st Century book by Mr. Amal M. Das. You have just heard his session. All of this content you will actually find in a very more detailed and practical form within the book, and you will benefit greatly by reading it. So do take a look by pre-ordering this book inside the feedback form. Announcement number 2, these are our next sessions. So as you know, every month we have 2 sessions, one for students and one for parents. These are our public webinars. We conduct a lot of other webinars as well. On April 11th, we have an untitled session for students. And on April 18th, we have our next session for parents. So please stay tuned, subscribe to this channel, Amal M. Das Official, to receive further updates. Announcement 3, as always, we are going to open our sales of these 2 books, Art of Concentration in the Age of Distraction and Time Management for students who value their time. All those who have attended this webinar will actually get an opportunity to receive these books at 25% discount with free delivery. If you want to do so, we are going to circulate a link in the live chat. Kindly click on it and then type the coupon code Arjuna21 and select the book or books that you would like to buy. So these were the announcements. We really hope that this session was enlightening to you. It was enlivening for you. And we hope to see you and your friends in the next session. Thank you very much.